Hare Krishna. Swabhav. Swabhav word means the nature. So generally, it is always talked about, that this person is of a good nature. He has a very loving nature. He's very kind. So when one is to speak about a person, his qualities, then they speak about uh, his nature, like he's helpful, he's kind, and etc. But what is that nature actually? It is swabhav. Swabhav, in literal sense, we can the most closest we can take it is the natural inclination of a person towards something. So swabhav, natural inclination. So what is the jiva, a soul? जीव का स्वभाव क्या है? What is the constitutional dharma of the jiva? And why do different teachers they explain the nature of dharma in such diverse ways? Then, if dharma is one, why don't all the learned teachers cultivate that one universal dharma, which is without a second? The answer to this you can find in the Sanatan Dharma, which and in Sanatan Dharma more specifically about the dharma of a jeev, what it should be, and we have a book on that by the Gaudiya Acharya Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj. So now an object is called a vastu, and its eternal nature is known by its nitya dharma. The nature arises from the elementary structure of an object, ghatan, the constituents of that object. By Krishna's desire, when an object is formed, a particular nature is inherent in that structure as an eternal concomitant factor. This nature is the nitya dharma of the object. Now, a particular, what it says is, again we read it, by Krishna's desire, when an object is formed. Now, here it is important to note, by Krishna's desire. So, by Krishna's desire, it means that it is sure, it is existent, and it will stay for, eternity. When an object is formed, a particular nature is inherent in that structure as an eternal concomitant factor. This nature is the nitya dharma of the object. The nature of a given object becomes altered or distorted when a change takes place within it, either by force of circumstance or due to contact with other objects. With the passage of time, this distorted nature becomes fixed and appears to be permanent, as if it were the eternal nature of that object. This distorted nature is not the svabhav, the true nature. It is called nisarga, that nature which is acquired through long term association. This nisarg occupies the place of the factual nature and becomes identified as the swabhav, and hence the forgetfulness of the constitutional position for a jiva soul, which is very sad. For example, water is an object and its swabhav is liquidity. When water solidifies due to certain circumstances and becomes ice, the acquired nature of solidity takes the place of its inherent nature. In reality, this acquired nature is not eternal. Rather, yeah. So when water solidifies under certain circumstances becomes ice. Now the acquired nature of solidity for that water has is not permanent. When its heat is supplied, it will melt and again return back to the water state, the liquid state. In reality, this acquired nature is not eternal, rather, it is occasional or temporary. It arises because of some cause, and when that cause is no longer effective, acquired nature vanishes automatically. However, the swabhav is eternal. It may become distorted, but it still remains inseparably connected to its object and the original nature, and the original nature will certainly become evident again when the proper time and circumstance arise. Now, however, the swabhav is eternal, it may become distorted, but it still remains inseparably connected to its object, and the original nature will certainly become evident again when the proper time and circumstances arise. The swabha of an object is its nitya dharma, eternal function, while its acquired nature is its namitic dharma, occasional function. Now we are trying to understand the nitya dharma and what is the cause of forgetfulness of that of a jiva soul. Those who have true knowledge of an object's vastu jnana can know the difference between eternal and occasional function, whereas those who lack this knowledge consider acquired nature to be true nature and they consequently mistake the temporary dharma for eternal dharma. What is it that is called? What is it that is called vastu and what is the meaning of swabha? The word vastu is derived from the Sanskrit verbal root vas. Vas means to exist in or dwell. The verbal root becomes a noun when the suffix tu is added. Therefore, vastu means that which has existence or which is self-evidence. Evident. There are two types of vastu, vastu and avastu. The term truly abiding substance, vastav vastu, refers to that which is grounded in transcendence. Transcendence. Temporary objects, a vastav, vastu, are dravya, solid objects, guna, qualities, and so on. The temporary objects. Real objects have eternal existence, unlike unreal objects, only have a semblance of existence, which is sometimes real and sometimes unreal. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2 Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Sivadam. Only a true abiding substance which is related to the supreme absolute truth and which yields supreme auspiciousness is worthy of being known. From this statement, it is clearly understood that the only real substance is that which is related to the supreme transcendence. Shiv Bhagavan is the only real entity, Vastav Vastu. The living entity Jiva is distinct or individual part of that entity, while Maya, the potency that produces bewilderment, is the energy of that entity. Therefore, the word Vastu refers to three fundamental principles Bhagwan, Jeev, and Maya. The knowledge of mutual relationship between these three principles is known as pure knowledge, Shuddha Jnana. There are innumerable apparent representations of these three principles, and they are all regarded as avastava vastu, unreal substances. The classification of phenomena into various categories such as dravya, the objects, the gunas, qualities, which is undertaken uh, by the other schools of philosophy, in particular the Vaisheshik, is just a deliberation on the nature of avastava vastu, temporary objects. So they deal only with the temporary things. The special characteristic, Vishesh gun of any truly abiding substance is its factual nature. The Jiva is a real entity, and his eternal characteristic quality is his true nature. So, to understand this topic clearly, we always needed evidence. Whenever some point is to be stressed and made for, to and uh, given forward, uh, and if it is true, then there has to be some evidence. And here we have an evidence from Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who was an object of the mercy of Sri Nityanand Prabhu, who is the Adi Guru. He has shown a manuscript. He has a manuscript in his hand, and um, Shriman Mahaprabhu himself has instructed on this subject in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit Madhya 28.20.108. Jiver Swarup hai Krishner Nitya Das. Krishner Tatastha Shakti Bheda Bhed Prakash. The constitutional nature of the Jiva is to be an eternal servant of Krishna, and he is marginal potency of Krishna and is a manifestation simultaneously one with his and different from him. So, the constitutional position of a Jiva soul, the Lord Himself has told in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that He is the Jiva soul is the marginal potency of Krishna and His manifestation simultaneously one with Him and different from him. कृष्ण भूलि सई जीव अनादि बहिर्मुख अतैव माया तरे देय संसार दुख. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 20.117. The jiva who has forgotten Krishna has been preoccupied with the external potencies since time without beginning. Consequently, now अनादि काल से जीव भूला हुआ है भगवान को देसी. Anadikal says. So, what does it mean? Whenever the Lord descends, He gives a chance to all the souls to come to Him, close to Him. Those fortunate ones who understand the importance of His message, take to it seriously, and work on it, and try to serve the Lord because because they adore Him. So, Anadikal se Jiv Bhula. But when he forgets to serve the Lord, that is, the Lord has given the free will, and we have to serve Him only favorably. We cannot serve you know, unfavorable is not the way to serve the Lord. Kansa is did that, but we cannot. It is not accepted at all. So one has to serve Lord favorably, and so Anadikal se Jiv Bhula means when he does not serve the Lord favorably. So Anadikal means the time, the eternal time, the Lord's kingdom. So whenever the Lord descends, we have to understand the importance of this rare opportunity and make our the lost fortune, reclaim our lost fortune. So when they say Anadi Kal se jeev bhula hua hai Bhagwan ko, so it looks like as if Anadi Kal means since time immemorial, time eternal, and then it looks like oh so many ages, like infinite time, but it is not like that. Eternal Anadikal means the Lord's kingdom, the time. Here we are in the material world and we are bound by this time factor, the time energy, and time is a great energy, it's a great force. We are bound in this time. We are bound in the material world by Maya, the Lord's Bahiranga Shakti. But what does it mean? We are in this frame of this time, which is a great force. And then since eternity, so what does that mean? Eternity means the Lord did give a chance, and we have been with the Lord many times, not once or twice, but uncountable, countless number of times we have been with the Lord. He has given us opportunity to serve Him. But the moment we try to cheat and get away from that, drift away from that, then the unfavorable sets in, and then the soul, the jivas, forgets his constitutional position. Jiva Swarup hai Krishna Nityadas, and then he goes into the unfavorable, and he unknowingly or knowingly, and then begins to associate in a wrong way, thinking the material world to be his family to be his own, the friends outside the house to be his, then the his duties towards the nation, towards the society, towards the nation in the larger picture, then the pursuit also changes, economy, money, business, politics, and he forgets his constitutional position. So that is being said here. The jiva who has forgotten Krishna has been preoccupied with the external potency since time without beginning. Time without beginning means the Lord's kingdom. That they refer to that as the time without beginning. Like we are in this material world, and we have, according to Bhagavad Gita, we have past, present, and then the present and the future. So this is the time factor: past, present, and future. So this Maya, past was Maya, present. If we don't do devotional service, it is again Maya, and the what will be the future? The result of all these activities that you do in the present, and that will again be a Maya. So what are you generating? Maya. You are Jiva Swarup Nitya Das or Bhagwan Krishna, Lord Krishna. He is beyond this trigun, and he is divya, transcendental. And what are we generating? Only Maya. So So this is we must give deep thought to this about our activities. We must do only that which is favorable and that which is devotional service. Otherwise, we are going against the Lord's flow. We are trying to lord over the material nature, and in result, what do we do? One will want to declare himself Bhagwan, and that is not anything. It is wrong to call oneself Bhagwan. If you are generating Maya, then you are thinking yourself as a Bhagwan. You are not generating anything. You have to serve the Lord in a favorable mood all the time. कृष्ण भूली सही जीव अनादि बहिर्मुख अतएव माया करे देय संसार दुख. Chaitanya Charitamrit, Madhya 20.117. The Jiva who has forgotten Krishna has been preoccupied with external potency since time without beginning, and the Krishna's illusory potency gives him misery in the form of material existence. Krishna is the complete transcendental substance, Chidvastu. He is often compared to the sun of spiritual realm, and the Jivas are compared to the sun's atomic particles of light. Jivas are innumerable. When it is said that they are individual parts of Krishna, it does not mean they are like pieces of stone that form a mountain. Although innumerable Jiva portions emanate from Sri Krishna, he is not diminished by this in the slightest. For this reason, Vedas have compared Jivas in one respect to the sparks emanating from a fire. In reality, no adequate comparison can be made. It is always to the transcendental topics cannot be understood with analogy to the material realm. But though there some analogy has to be given, otherwise a human being would not be able to grasp anything. So this analogy is just given for you to refer, and it is not the final knowledge. So one must not be confused or be illusioned with this, and suddenly there shouldn't be any comparison. Transcendental topics cannot be understood by the material analogy, and based on the material analogy, if any transcendental, if you read a verse from Bhagavatam or Vedas or any Bhagavad Gita or any Upanishads or any Puranas, then immediately the mind's nature is to process the information. So what will the mind do? It suddenly, with the for the transcendental area also, it will apply the material logic, and like creation is creativity, the power of creativity rests with the soul. So he's given that power. So what will you do? Try to understand transcendental topics by the material way, and that is wrong. So Bhagavan, the Lord Krishna, is adhokshaj. We cannot by our own mind produce all those transcendental knowledge. It will be revealed to one who is in the mood of surrender, serving the Lord favorably. We we cannot we cannot interpret the transcendental verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. They must be taken as it is, and they must be taken as it is, and the material analogy for those verses is just a way to understand and relate. It is just a way to understand and relate. It is not full and final, it is just the beginning. And one who is intelligent will immediately understand that there is an utter need to surrender to the Lord. And what does that mean? What is the practical result of surrender? To obey the instructions of his pure devotees. In particular, the Guru. You have to obey his instruction, and without interpreting it, you have to follow it as it is. In due course of time, once the mind is purified, the knowledge will descend. It will be revealed to you. Mind is purified means what? All these karmas, the wrong intakes that you have been giving to your mind since time eternal. Now again, time eternal. Why we say time eternal? Because the time is a great force and it is under the control of the Lord. That is how we see, because it is the Lord's energy, time. That is why we say it is eternal. Eternal means not you can't quantify it, though you can, but immediately the mind wants to catch it in a specific frame, and that is how it. is suffering. The soul is suffering like that. So you cannot quantify. Time eternal means since trillion years or quadrillion years. How long? The light year is, we have a light year in science, but then how long? So in this way, the mind will keep on thinking. The intelligence will always want to question and then interpret the transcendental topics, and you'll not arrive at anywhere. So this mental speculation is very dangerous. You have to surrender to the Lord. When you say time eternal, uh, eternity, then you have to understand that you must surrender to the Lord. As simple as that. And it is not stupid at all. The transcendental topics are the best understood, studied only by the way of attentive hearing, and attending hearing means a submissive mood. Submissive mood and getting the information as it is, unless you are satisfied and you will know it. So, this is the way. Um, so when it is said that they are individual parts of Krishna, it does not mean they are like the pieces of stone that form the mountain. Although innumerable jiva portions emanate from Sri Krishna, he is not diminished by this in the slightest. For this reason, the Vedas have compared jivas in one respect to sparks emanating from a fire. Now, in reality, no adequate comparison, as we discuss now, no adequate comparison can be made. No comparison whether to sparks of the blazing fire, atomic particles within the rays of the sun, or gold produced from powerful mystic jewels is completely appropriate. The true nature of the jiva is easily revealed in the heart only, but only when the mundane conception of these comparisons is given up. Krishna is infinite spiritual substance, they say, Brihat Chit Vastu. Whereas the jivas are infinitesimal spiritual substance, Anuchit Vastu. The oneness of Krishna and jivas lie in their spiritual nature, Chid Dharma. Nitya Dharma, the Chit Dharma, but they are undoubtedly different as well because their natures are complete and incomplete, respectively. Krishna is the eternal Lord of the Jivas, and the Jivas are Krishna's eternal servants. This interrelationship is natural. Krishna is the attractor, and the Jivas are attracted. Krishna is the supreme ruler, and Jivas are ruled. Krishna is the observer, and the Jivas are observed. Now, Krishna is the complete whole, and the Jivas are poor and insignificant. Now, Krishna is the possessor of all potency, and the Jivas are devoid of any spiritual potency. Um, all potency, and they are devoid of any potency, not, I'm sorry, not spiritual potency, they are devoid of any potency, like they are dependent all the time. Therefore the eternal swabhav or dharma of Krishna, of jiva, is Krishna das, eternal service and obedience to Krishna. There is a further there are many more things given here. If the mind is not if your intellect is not convinced, and for the mind to grasp it, and but immediately without any moment's delay, if you are in a receptive mood, this will sink into your being the way the Lord wants the jivas to understand. We are his Nitya Das, and he consider all the jivas as his sons. So, how will you understand the Father? It is only the submissive mode. No one questions. That is the bhakti way of understanding. But still, for those who are, they are in an analytic frame of mind. For them also, this there is a way to for them to make them understand, and there must be such way. Otherwise, what is the purpose of the Lord's world? The Lord's world is fully sufficient, fully efficient, and sufficient for everyone to understand His transcendental knowledge. And so, but for those who are they are in a questioning mood, for them also the satisfaction must be there, and yes, it is there because Lord Krishna is the supreme personality, and he has all different kinds to explain to the jiva souls the way they are, because all are variegated and each one is an individual soul. So each one has his own way to absorb the knowledge. Now, further continuing again in the way we went ahead, um, Krishna is endowed with unlimited potencies. The complete potency, Purna Shakti, is perceived in the manifestation of the spiritual world, Chit Jagat. His Tatastha Shakti or marginal potency is observed in the manifestation of the Jivas. A special potency acts in assembling the finite world, Apurna Jagat, and this potency is known as Tatastha Shakti. So the Jivas are actually, they are part or parcel of the whole Supreme Lord, but they are Tatastha Shakti. What does Tatastha mean? Sometimes they are with the Lord, favorable mood. Sometimes they drift away. They are unfavorable to the Lord. And then sometimes they are to, and then sometimes they are completely in the Maya. So, like this, it's going on since eternity. And once the mind understands that our there's no other way, one has to surrender to the Lord, then his job is done. He will forever he will forever take to the devotional service 24 by 7, and he will achieve his goal. Otherwise, what's the point in staying away, separate from the Lord, and then being illusion in his material energy? And we are seeing what is happening in the material energy, so much struggle, so much strife, and so much stress to understand the goal, life goals. One should have a goal. It starts from there. Many people don't even know that life, in the life they must have a goal. Not many of them know that. So it starts from there, the illusion, and it takes a person into a very deeper, darker areas. And it is very difficult that for that soul to come out of this bondage, that is material bondage, maya baddha jeev. वो माया बद्ध जीव हो जाता है फिर. The action of the marginal potency is to create an entity vastu which exists between the animate objects and inanimate objects, and which can maintain a relationship with both spiritual and material worlds. Now, Bhagwan is the supreme ruler of Maya, which is under his full control. The Jiva, on the other hand, may, under certain circumstances, be controlled by Maya, as we saw in, and hence these the three principles, Bhagwan, Jeev, and Maya, they are real, Paramarthik Satya, and eternal. Of these three, Bhagavan is the supreme eternal principle and foundation of all other principles. The following statement in Katha Upanishad 2.2.13, Nityo Nityanam Chitanash Chitananam, is the eternal, he is supreme eternal amongst all eternals and fundamental sentient among all the sentient beings. Chaitanash Chetananam. The Jiva is by nature both eternal servant of Krishna and representation of his marginal potency. Now, that is the point where we can understand why our mood fluctuates throughout the day, and we sometimes are very devotional, and sometimes we are very careless, and sometimes altogether forget our Nitya Dharma, which is Nitya Das, Bhagwan ki seva, Krishna's devotional service of the Lord. So this was all about the swabhav of a jeev. Swabhav means nitya dharma, and nitya dharma means his duties and responsibilities. One cannot run away from one's duties and responsibilities. And nitya dharma, the jeev, his nitya dharma is Krishna's seva, and it is not in by force. It, once you accept this, then it becomes his swabha, and what, which is why all this saints, so called, the in particular for us, the Vaishnavas, who are worshippers of Lord Radha Krishna, the Vaishnavas, the Guru, and the Parampara, the Acharyas, they are struggling to make the soul understand this same, the same philosophy, that the Swabhav of a jeev, the Nitya Dharma. If one commits to it, he cannot run away from his responsibilities and duties. Otherwise, what is the, they say, the Purusharth? What is the Purusharth in doing so? And once you accept this, naturally, one has The mind has to accept it by somehow. You have to make the mind understand. And once you understand, then you will only do that which is favorable